Welcome back to our next making of, and this time we have here a single family house in autumn mood. And this picture has been saved straight from V-Ray frame buffer without any post-production. In the final result, I have added few more areas with orange colors, like here and also on the plants. And in general, I have increased the contrast to make the image look more sharp. That's very easy to do in Photoshop, and the rendering was pretty clean, even though the settings were semi-high, I would say even medium. So let's check out the scene, and I'd like to focus on into this scene on the lighting. So I will hide all the geometry pressing Shift G, and we have here an ambient light, which is a V-Ray dome light, because we have here an overcast. And in some cases, it's very difficult to receive a good sampling for this type of a scene. And V-Ray dome light is a perfect solution because it produces real light. So we have the V-Ray dome light enabled. It's invisible because I want to add a different background, actually the same background, but in some different ratio in my environment slots right here. You can display it by pressing 8 on your keyboard, and in the options we have also store with irradiance map enabled. We have also a texture, which is a nice texture downloaded from cgtextures.com. That's the texture, and it's nice sky, so this should give us a nice forecast effect. And we have resolution set to 512, and also the sampling has been set to 8 subdivisions. So in the end, we have a pretty clean rendering, so we do not need to go higher with those values. And in 4K resolution, the rendering time was about 1.5 to 2 hours, so not very time expensive because it was rendered on an i7 Core 3.0 CPU. So not very fast machine, but still a pretty good result. Back into 3ds Max, and that's the main light source, which will produce good exposure for all the scene. But we have also a few other smaller lights that will lit the interior, and we have a V-Ray sphere light that will represent the bulb inside of the lamp, and it's an invisible light set multiplier to 4, so not very strong. And we have also enabled invisible and store with irradiance map to take some of the calculations inside of GI calculation part, so we can receive better rendering times in the end. We have also one V-Ray plane in the kitchen to make the interior looking more lighter. And we have small lights in the bathroom to simulate the downlights right here with some textures also enabled. And we have one spotlight right here above the diner table. So we have V-Ray shadows enabled, and we have also area shadows enabled right here with 0.5 meter UVW sphere, and we have an orange color, and it's a pretty weak light because it's like late afternoon in overcast mood, so we can't get a very strong effect. You may also notice we have some more lights with eyes, but these lights will be used later in the night setup for this scene, so not in this scene. And basically that's the whole idea. So let's jump into render setup to check out the settings. We have here GI and irradiance map and light cache for primary and secondary bounces. We have a default preset medium in the irradiance map. We have also light cache set to 2000 subdivisions, pretty simple settings. We have also a DMC adaptive DMC image sampler, because we have a lot of little grass, so a lot of little geometry, and this will give us a better and a more accurate result during the rendering, the GI environment has been disabled because we have the V-Ray dome light instead. And in the environment, we have also a dusk, and overcast map that have been used also to lead the scene. And the reason is because I want to control the position of this element right here, viewing from my active camera. And we can also tweak the position rotating the V-Ray dome light, but I find it faster right here because we just need to use some sliders to set the right position, and it's also not affecting in general the V-Ray dome lights, so we just may change the background and the lighting will remain the same for each camera, and you may know better, or you can better predict the desired effect in the end. So let's disable the show background. And that's basically the lighting. We have also a Reinhardt color mapping, and we have 1.1 multiplier, 1.2 and 1.2 gamma also. We have some render elements enabled in V-Ray frame buffer, but this time our raw rendering is that good, so we don't need as much post-production in the end, so it's not necessary to save it. Now let's enable the geometry, because we have here some elements that might be helpful. Like here on the ground we have some stones, and to create an effect like this I have just created few elements in editable poly, simple boxes but chamfered boxes with a texture and displacement. And I have created this texture from cgtextures.com site. It's a perfect tile texture using the offset filter in Photoshop. And the idea is that I have also now the ground a separate object. So I can select the ground where I want to place my grass, and I can use the multi-scatter, or I can use the advanced painter tool to paint the additional grass strands and also other elements that appear in the scene. And we have also added few details on the ground, like here some little spheres that representing the debris on the terrace. We have also a few leaves and small branches, and in the end onyx plants, so bushes, bamboo elements on the left side, and also some betula trees which are also placed here in the background to have nice reflections on the glass, even though we are looking almost straight to the glass. So in this case it's not easy to receive a nice reflection, because with the angle, when the angle changes, then you may have better reflections on the glass, but when you're looking at it directly, just orthogonal, let's say, then you may see through the glass, and it's maybe a bit fake in this scene, but I found it really interesting to have those effects because it's giving a more 3D perception. So we can see, even though also there are elements behind the scene that are not present in this composition. So we have here also the Godower EV plugin on the wall, and that's pretty much the scene. It's very simple, but the crucial thing is the lighting. And the V-Ray dome light with an overcast texture, it's not even a high dynamic range texture, so it's even though working perfectly fine. And that is the advantage of the lighting. And I hope you have enjoyed this little making of, and some things are much clearer now. And I see you in the next lecture, and I hope also you will enjoy the very detailed tutorial about Onyx created by Morph. So see you soon, and have a nice day.